Did you ever think there's something magical about a song, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is, but you wish you could get into that songwriter's head and just extract the ideas and use it for your own music? Well, that's exactly what I thought when I heard this. It's called Long Train Running by California band the Doobie Brothers. And even if you've never heard this song before in your life, it can really help us songwriters learn a lot about the art and craft of songwriting and get us away from that frustrating feeling of coming to write a new song and just being kind of stuck playing the same boring chords over and over. It doesn't matter what level you're at the moment or the kind of songs you write. Understanding this stuff can really help to transform your songwriting. In this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into the song and the best ideas contained within it and show you how you can apply them to your own songwriting as well as write my own song, which I'll play at the end of the video. So it's in the key of G minor and it has 4 chords in it, but one of them in the chorus is very unexpected, and there's also a top secret chord that kind of is used as a transition, and I think that is probably the most important moment in the whole song. So I'm Robin, I'll be your guide on your songwriting journey today. So first let's hear the verse. Down around the corner, half a mile from here, sitting while trains running, watch you disappear without love. Where would you be now? So believe it or not, this just started out as a guitar jam that the band played for fun on stage, and they never saw it as anything more than just that, until they were recording their famous 1973 album, The Captain and Me. The producer of that album heard that jam and decided there was a hit song in there somewhere and persuaded the lead singer to go out and write some last minute lyrics. Then the song went on the album and became one of the most successful hits the band had ever had. So what was it that the producer heard in that jam that made him hear a hit song? Well, if we strip it back to its basics, it's easiest to understand. The verse is G minor to C minor back to G minor, which is the 1 and the 4 chord in the scale of G minor. And these just contain 3 notes across the octaves. So how can we spice these chords up? Well, we can turn the chords into minor 7s by adding an extra note, which is the 7th note in the scale of G minor. So in the case of the G minor, you would add the F note, which would sound like this. And the C minor, we would add the B flat note, and that sounds like this. Now we're playing 4 notes. With those added 7th notes in to the chord, it creates a richer sound and adds more colour. By the way, if I keep looking to my side here, it's because I've got some notes here to refer to and I don't want to miss anything. So next, we can add some tension. This gives you the power to create anticipation in the listener. So firstly, with the C minor 7 we've just played, we could add a 7 an octave above. That would sound like this. This, I think, adds some urgency to the chord and emphasises that 7th note quite a lot. And now, because our little finger's in play, we can slide it down and create a note that's got a lot of unresolved tension in it. The C minor 7 with an added 13. Listen to this for unresolved. The reason it sounds so tense is because we've got the major 6 in the scale of C minor and the 7th note, and they're an octave apart, but because these notes are so close together that when they're played in a chord, it creates a very strong, dissonant, unresolved sound. Then when we add them into the chord, we get this. So this strong dissonance makes the resolution to G minor 7 so much sweeter. I think what we're about to do next to these chords creates the foundation for what became the hit song that the producer heard. By playing an extra chord and strumming, hammering into our G minor 7, we add flavour to the chord and create some movement. So we start with this barred chord, which is not just some random position. It's actually, barring all those strings, is actually a chord called G7 sus4 add 9 in this case, because the G's in the root. The floating nature of this chord adds movement and also creates contrast. This is commonly used in R&B, rock and funk. And speaking of funk, we can make it more funky now. How do we do that? Well, we can add something in called the chicka. Now, I don't know what the chicka means, I just made it up, but it sounds like this. It's ultimately where we're using the percussive options in the guitar by strumming the muted strings. It gives us a very funky sound, and then combined with that start-stop groove that the song is played in, it creates a really powerful, exciting, funky percussive sound. So let's use all of these ideas to find awesome chords in your song ideas. So we've got these barred positions. Ultimately, we can bar it from the A string down or the E string down. The first one, when you bar the 5 strings from the A, is 7 sus4 add 9, and from the E string down, it's the minor 7 add 11. So, in the case of this song, G7 sus4 add 9, and C minor 7 add 11, if you were going to hammer in from those positions. It gives us lots of options by being able to hammer into different chord positions and play around with different fingering positions and create exciting new chords and movements that we might not have otherwise thought of. And it allows you to say more in your songs, I think. It can also be played from the root position as well. So playing around with these ideas, I've come up with 4 or 5 things for my song that will probably inform you on some options that you could use. So I've started with this barring all 6 strings, in this case F sharp minor 7 add 11, and hammering in and out of different positions on this A string here. And I got this, which I think sounds pretty good. And then for the verse, what I've done is, instead of barring these 5 strings from the B, I've dropped off on this A string to play an open A, so I've ended up playing pretty much an A chord but with a 6 in there as well. And then use that principle of hammering onto different strings, this time on the D string. So I've got this for the verse. And then sliding up to that sus4 add 9 position, I've got this that I quite like. This time I'm hammering off that A position again, which I quite like the sound of. And then I'm going to probably walk up chromatically to the chorus from this position again, just going up in semitones on this D string. So let's take a look at the lyrics and melody before we go on to the chorus, because there's a lot of interesting ideas in here as well. So it speaks of trains running around the rural regions of the USA at the start of each verse, and ends each verse saying, "Without love, where would we all be?" So I think it contrasts the cold, emotionless mechanics and large, bleak expanses of the USA with the love that makes it all worthwhile. None of the verses really build up in the sense of a narrative, but it's more of a repeated theme. I think the last verse is the best example of how these lyrics function. Well, pistons keep on churning and the wheels go round and round, and the steel rails lie cold and hard on the mountains they go down. Without love, where would you be right now? So you can hear it's got a strong sense of emotional contrast between the trains and the mountains and the undercurrent of love driving it all. I think it really connects on a human level and somehow transmits something much deeper than just the lyrics would alone when it's combined with the music. So then the vocal melody uses the G minor scale. It's a very, very simple melody, just containing 4 notes: B flat, D, F and G. But there's one extra note in the chorus that isn't in that scale, which goes with the secret chord, the top secret chord that I'll explain later on. So the verse is really just that root note G repeated with some passing notes around it. Down around the corner, half a mile from here, you see them long trains running and watch them disappear without love. Down around the corner, half a mile from here, you see them long trains running and watch them disappear without love. Where would you be now? So you can see how basic it is really in terms of the melody. It's just pretty much focused around that G note. It's a great example often in songwriting. It's not the complexity that wins, but just doing enough that is required to transmit the message. Okay, so let's hear the chorus. There's 2 very interesting, powerful harmonic ideas at work here that create a fantastic contrast between the funky rhythmical verse and quite a dark chorus. The chorus is, the chords are ultimately a short chromatic descending resolution towards that G minor, which means the chord's kind of moving at semitones down towards that G minor. And this is what it sounds like, so listen out for that unexpected chord. I'll play it without singing it as well, so you can just listen to the chord movements. Did anyone notice the unexpected chord? It was the D major. This isn't in the key of G minor. So really music theory would dictate, or our ears would probably expect to hear something like this. Instead we hear the D major. This is a borrowed chord from the scale of G major. I think the reason why they've used this is because it pulls our ear towards the G minor. The reason being that the third in this scale and in this chord of D major is just a semitone away from the final note of G. Whereas if they'd have been playing the D minor, it would have been 2 semitones away, because they'd have been playing the F note instead of the F sharp / G flat. So you're talking a whole tone away. So the D major leads our ears towards G minor more easily, kind of pulls us in that direction. It's called a leading tone, and it feels like a more natural and powerful resolution. So now for the top secret chord. As the bass line descends, we go from E flat 7 to this chord. This is the E flat 7 first. This is the D sus4 with a flat 6. And I think that this works with that D major to create the most powerful focal point of the song for 3 reasons. The first reason is that it gives a very minor feel. In fact, if you take this D out, these 3 notes that are left are the 3 notes in G minor. And in fact, you could even call this chord a G minor with a D in the bass. But it's kind of got quite a lot of tension and a bit of a dissonant feel to it as well. So I think it really helps to add some gravity to the song. And again, it's reminding us of the tonality of that home chord of G minor. The second reason I think it's the most powerful change in the song is because, again, we hear another dissonance, like in the verse, but this time it's slightly less tense, but it's still there. And that's because we've got the 4th and the 5th in the scale. In this case, the G and the A. That's got quite a dissonant tension to it that I really like. Funnily enough though, the 5th, this A that is added in, isn't considered in music theory to add any more harmonic information to the chord, and therefore the chord has exactly the same name whether or not this fifth is played or not. But I think it does actually sound quite different. This is without the fifth, and then I'll add the fifth in afterwards and you can hear what the difference is. The third reason why I think it's the most powerful change in the whole song, powerful moment, is because the way the vocal harmonies work over the chords. In this chord, the D sus4 with the flat 6, the flat 6 is sung over the top of it. So that really emphasises that tonality. And then when it comes down to the D major, the G flat is sung. So it really kind of pushes those two powerful notes through the vocals. It kind of sounds like this. Without love. Now, how can we use these ideas in our song as well? Well, the sequence can be replicated in any position to create an interesting harmonic movement. It can be used in a similar way to resolve to different chords in the root position. So you could have the F resolving to the A minor. It kind of sounds like this. Or we could start on the B and resolve to the D minor. So we can do something really cool to brighten up the resolving chord. Instead of landing on the D minor, we can land on a D major. This creates a key change and just lifts the feel of the whole song. See what you think. I'll play two variations on it. Or you could use it the way I have to transition to another chord altogether. And I've also lingered twice as long on the descending parts because I just like the way it sounded. I'm not even sure what key I ended up in, but it's quite a different sound. So I think although my song is completely different to this classic, it still sort of tips his hat and borrows some of those ideas. And it just goes to show that you can take inspiration from one song and write something completely different. So hope you like it. Cheers for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
The mystery and play will fade into colour. You never know what we will find. The things that we see, you know it's 'cause we're the same kind. And we've fallen on hard times before, and I've got to let it go. Something deep down inside keeps taking me back to the time when you were mine. When you were mine. You're going my way, we'll move from today and the fragments of this time. I can't believe the things I receive from your mind. And we've fallen on hard times before, and I've got to let it go. Something deep down inside keeps taking me back to the time when you were mine. When you were mine. When you were mine. When you were mine. times before, and I've got to let it go. Something deep down inside keeps taking me back to the time when you were mine. 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 When you were mine.